In a world hidden from the public eye, far beyond the headlines and outside the grasp of conventional warfare, there exists a covert operation so secretive that even those involved rarely understand its full purpose. This is the story of two elite snipers, Drasa and Levi, thrown into isolation, bonded by silence, and tested by a darkness that defies reason. Our story begins not with a war, but with stillness. Deep beneath a concrete tunnel, tucked under the skeletal remains of an abandoned railway, lies a sniper, Drasa. 10 days she's lived in this cold, dim hollow, waiting, observing, breathing only when necessary. Her mission: to eliminate a high-profile government delegate landing at a nearby airport. It's not a job for the faint-hearted. It's a job for someone like Drasa. She doesn't flinch. When the target appears in her crosshairs, she fires one shot. Clean, quiet, deadly. The man collapses before his feet even touch the ground. Drasa retrieves the bullet shell, her ritual of closure. Each shell she keeps isn't a trophy. It's a reminder of life taken, of lines crossed. Elsewhere, far from the theater of precision strikes and assassinations, another soul fights a different battle, internally. Levi, once a renowned Navy sniper, now walks the shores alone. Tormented by nightmares that replay violent echoes of the past, he seeks solace in words. Sitting by the ocean, waves crashing, he writes a poem, his escape, his therapy. But peace is fleeting. A message pings his phone from an unknown number. The words are simple, yet commanding. Report to C. Pendleton. He doesn't hesitate. The soldier in him answers the call. At C. Pendleton, a sharp, cold-eyed woman awaits him. Her questions pierce deeper than bullets. Why did he leave the Navy? Does he have family? Is there anyone who would miss him if he disappeared? Levi answers truthfully. No family, no connections, just the ghosts of memory. This wasn't just an interrogation, it was an evaluation. And Levi passes. He's handed a new mission, one he doesn't yet understand. One that will redefine everything he believes about service, sacrifice, and survival. Meanwhile, Drasa travels to Lithuania, a place heavy with personal history. She visits her mother's grave, accompanied by her father, a man weakened by time and terminal illness. Their conversation is tender, layered with pain and unspoken understanding. Her father confesses something haunting. He plans to end his life on Valentine's Day. For him, life without his wife, and with Drasa constantly away on missions, no longer holds meaning. Drasa listens, not with protest, but with compassion. Before they part, she presses a bullet shell into his hand, a symbol of both her sorrow and her respect. She informs him she's heading for a year-long assignment. They may never meet again. September arrives. Levi boards a plane bound for a destination shrouded in mystery. Upon boarding, he's stripped of all personal belongings. No contact, no technology, no past. Just a briefing, and then the jump. Parachuting into an unforgiving wilderness, he treks for hours before arriving at a strange, remote outpost. A rusted fortress standing against time. He meets JD, a soldier who's been stationed here for a full year, completely cut off from the world. JD appears calm, but something in his eyes hints at the psychological toll of isolation. JD explains the mission. Guard the west tower of a facility known only as the Gauge. One soldier guards the east. Communication across the deep chasm between towers is forbidden. Daily tasks include checking military equipment, maintaining security systems, and monitoring bizarre devices called clunkers, machines that emit fake signals to confuse satellite surveillance. There's one radio, one button marked panic. Press it, and something will happen. But what? No one knows. Then comes the most chilling revelation. JD mentions the stray dog protocol. Again, its meaning is unclear. All Levi knows is that if he hears air raid sirens, he must run without looking back. JD shares a disturbing legend. In 1940, 3 battalions, 2,400 cavalrymen, entered the Gauge. None returned. Ever since, the U.S. and its former enemy have silently agreed to maintain this place, but not to understand it. Levi's duty isn't to keep people out. It's to keep something else in. The next morning, JD's assignment ends. He boards a helicopter, hopeful for freedom. But freedom is an illusion. As he identifies himself to the pilot, he's executed and dumped into the chasm. Watching from afar, the same woman who recruited Levi gives a cold nod of approval. This is the truth of the mission. No one leave alive. Levi is alone now, with time ticking down on his own silent death sentence. October rolls in. Levi discovers a bookshelf filled with cryptic journals left by past guards. One poem catches his eye. Only those who take the risk of going too far can find out how far they can go. Days later, while patrolling, he hears an unexpected sound, a chainsaw. Through binoculars, he sees a figure, a woman cutting a tree in the East Tower. It's Drasa. Unaware they serve the same mission on opposite sides, they begin to communicate silently. Drasa fires a pistol to catch his attention, then writes her name. Levi responds. Over time, they share music, memories, and laughter. It becomes their lifeline. But joy doesn't last. One night, Drasa signals urgently. Strange, twisted figures, pale, elongated, unnatural, are climbing from the gauge. The Hollow Men, Levi and Drasa, spring into action, sniping from their towers, covering each other with flawless precision. One creature reaches Drasa's platform. She fights hand-to-hand, surviving by sheer will. Bloodied but alive, she throws the body back into the pit. For the first time, the threat JD spoke of is real, and it's growing. Despite danger, the bond between the two snipers deepens. On Christmas, Levi sets up a tiny tree with lights. Drasa watches from her tower, touched. These quiet gestures become their salvation. As February nears, Levi begins having nightmares again. Visions of death, abandonment, failure. But now, his first thought is always of Drasa. She, too, feels the emotional strain. When she goes silent for a full day, Levi worries. That night, she admits she feels empty, lonely, and lost. In response, Levi remembers the poem. He whispers it across the void. Only those who take the risk. Determined to reach her, Levi begins a daring plan. He assembles makeshift gear, repurposes parts, and creates a zip line to cross the gorge. With Drasa's help, they launch a cable across the chasm. Levi carries nothing but a handful of flowers. He zips across the line, but disaster strikes. He gets stuck midway. In freezing wind and dizzying height, he climbs hand over hand. Every movement is agony, but he makes it. Drasa welcomes him with open arms. They sit together in the tower, sharing food, silence, and a rare moment of human contact. Their bond deepened not just through food, but through conversation about marksmanship, past missions, and unsettling truths. It was during this moment that Levi revealed his status, one of the top 5 snipers in the world. Yet even he couldn't explain the odd surroundings they found themselves in. Who, or what, was a mysterious figure only referred to as Hollow Man? And why was there a growing sense that something ancient and forbidden was watching? Levi opened up about his first ever assignment, an operation that had gone terribly wrong and still haunted him to this day. That same night, Drasa, moved by emotion, shared a personal regret. Her father had been preparing something significant for February, but she never got to say goodbye. The weight of unspoken farewells hung in the air like fog. By morning, Levi prepared to return to his position. But before he could leave, chaos erupted. Explosions tore through the area on his side of the divide. The shock wave severed his rope, sending him tumbling. Drasa didn't hesitate. She leapt into the gorge, deploying her parachute mid-fall, landing in a churning river below. But the parachute betrayed her. It dragged her beneath the current. Fighting panic, she managed to release herself and reach the shore. In the process, however, she lost her auto-ascender, their best chance at climbing out. Meanwhile, Levi was left hanging precariously, one leg caught, a massive, grotesque creature approaching fast. He fired his weapon, wounding the monster, but the recoil sent him crashing down into a thick web of sticky roots that refused to release him. As he struggled, Drasa appeared like a warrior from legend, launching a counterattack that drove the creature off and saved Levi's life. Once steady on their feet, they decided there was no choice but to press deeper into the gorge. The landscape was something out of a fever dream. Vibrant plants of unnatural colors, trees that pulsed like living beings, and an eerie silence that warned of ancient horrors. Before long, their instincts proved right. Out of the mist galloped 3 monstrous horsemen. They were humanoid in form, but overgrown with bark, vines, and roots, hideous hybrids of man and flora. Battle erupted. Though injured, Levi and Drasa fought fiercely, managing to drive the creatures back. In the aftermath, Drasa noticed the horsemen's clothing bore military insignia, soldiers from the 1940s. Levi recognized the symbols. These were once human soldiers sent into the gorge long ago, but something had transformed them. They weren't just dead, they had changed, and they weren't the only ones. Deeper into the abyss, they encountered tree-like structures with faces frozen in agony. Human bodies had fused with the forest, as if the very land consumed them. Eventually, the pair found a decayed church. Inside were rows of skeletons, seated like parishioners. One still clutched a bottle of cyanide. These people had chosen death, but why? Their question was answered not by words, but by a horrific screech. Swarms of spiders with human skulls for heads poured in, and from outside, new abominations crashed through the walls. In the chaos, Levi and Drasa fought back to back, escaping through a hidden door into a narrow tunnel. The passage led them to a cavernous laboratory buried beneath the earth. Dusty and abandoned, the lab was littered with forgotten equipment and brittle paperwork. There, Levi found cassettes, while Drasa powered up an ancient generator. A projector hummed to life. What they saw chilled them. A video from 1946 began to play. A scientist appeared, explaining that the facility had been built for biological and chemical missile testing, a joint effort between opposing global powers. But an earthquake of unfathomable magnitude, 8.8 on the scale, struck, fracturing the land and unleashing a catastrophic chemical spill. The substance didn't just kill. It fused DNA, human, animal, plant, into grotesque new life forms. Hybrid abominations. The contamination was so severe, the scientists sealed off the area and disappeared from history. But the mutations remained. Even worse, exposure beyond 5 days began altering living bodies. Levi and Drasa realized time was running out. But the revelations weren't over. The lab, supposedly dormant for decades, contained modern computers. Digging deeper, Levi uncovered a dark truth. The woman who had sent him here wasn't from the government. She was the head of a paramilitary organization called Dark Lake. She had revived the project to create genetically altered super soldiers. Her plan, a new breed of warfare, one where her soldiers were unstoppable. Among the files was one labeled Stray Dog. It revealed a secret weapon, a missile designed to obliterate the gorge without spreading radiation more than 4.2 kilometers. A final failsafe. Just as they prepared to escape, Levi turned to Drasa, quietly thanking her for standing by him. A flicker of unspoken love hung in the moment. Then Drasa remembered. Her bag was still near the entrance. When she returned to retrieve it, the horseman struck. She was ambushed, restrained, and dragged toward the facility's central gas chamber. Levi followed their trail, eventually discovering Drasa imprisoned and being tortured by a monstrous creature, part human, part plant, part snake. Drasa refused to be a victim. She broke free and set the thing ablaze. Levi arrived in time to finish the beast with a bullet to the skull. They fled together, only to stumble upon a nightmare, a bridge of fused bodies, where trees and insect had merged with humans to form a living horror. One wrong step triggered a swarm of monsters. Levi defended them, while Drasa unleashed fire again, purging the nightmare in flames. Amid the burning carnage, they found a rusted military jeep. They jumped in, gunning it up the incline of the gorge's walls. Creatures pursued them relentlessly. In a final desperate move, they ignited the Jeep and launched it downward, engulfing the attackers in a fiery explosion. With no tools left, they began to climb. Bloody, exhausted, but alive, they escaped the gorge. For 5 days, they quarantined themselves, watching closely for signs of mutation. Just before parting, Levi whispered, "I love you." But back at his base, the head of Dark Lake was watching. A hidden transmitter in his radio had betrayed him. Soldiers were dispatched. Drones hunted them. As Levi and Drasa tried to flee, they activated the stray dog missile. A fiery explosion consumed the entire facility. The Dark Lake operatives were incinerated. Levi ran as far as he could, then leapt into the river, his fate unknown. Drasa hid in a cave, completing her quarantine. Weeks passed. Eventually, Drasa traveled to France, to the place they had agreed to reunite. She waited and waited. Levi never came. One day, she opened the letter he had left behind, a handwritten poem filled with emotion. Tears ran down her cheeks. It seemed the radiation had taken him. Months later, in April, Drasa tried to move on. Working as a waitress in a quiet cafe, she kept her memories buried, until one day she saw him. Levi, sitting at a table, alive, late by a month. But their nightmare was finally over. Like thrilling stories with twists and survival? Subscribe now for more cinematic breakdowns like this one. Don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss a journey into the unknown.